You'd be hard-pressed to find another animated show as popular or as ingrained in pop culture as The Simpsons. First airing in 1987 as a series of shorts on The Tracy Ullman Show, it was soon developed into a full television series, and the rest is history. Today's video, we'll take a look at two of the many video game iterations of our favourite yellow family. Let's have a look at The Simpsons, Bart vs. the Space Mutants, and Bart vs. the World. Both released in 1991, and both by Acclaim. Now, will this be
the worst episode ever?
Let's find out. Starting with Bart vs. the Space Mutants, this was actually one of the very first Simpsons games ever released, not counting the cult classic arcade game. Hello fellow humans, Bartholomew J. Simpson here. Space Mutants are invading Springfield. They are here to take over the bodies of the citizens, and they want to build a weapon to take over the world.
Sure, why not?
Yours truly is the only one who can find them because of my X-ray goggles. I've got to spray paint things, get radical on my skateboard, and be a general nuisance. I've also got the rest of my family to help out.
Yeah, probably.
If you're a decent person, and you want to save the Earth, buy this game. Thanks, man. Cheers, Bart, for the breakdown there. As you probably guessed by the title, you control Bart Simpson in this side-scrolling platformer. You must guide him through the levels, 5 in all, whilst collecting specific items and performing specific tasks, all the while avoiding enemies. For example, here on stage 1, you will need to remove as many purple things as you can see.
Why?
You can do this by covering them up, spray painting them, or by other means. These feel like mini side quests in the levels, which is a fairly unique idea. If you've played A Boy and His Blob, it's a little bit similar to that, which isn't really surprising, as the games are made by the same people. You can also collect coins, which will allow you to buy certain things in the shops, and that will help you in your objectives as well. Bart also has an interesting power in the form of his X-ray glasses. You use these by pressing start, and you can see which citizens are actually aliens, and you need to jump on top of them if they are. The game does a fairly good job of staying faithful to the source material here. Like, for instance, you can prank call Mo at Mo's Tavern.
Mo's Tavern.
Now, unfortunately, at least for me, these controls are not good.
Hold on, I'll check.
They do not feel intuitive, and they just feel really awkward to move around and jump around with, as you can see from my masterclass gameplay here. It's also quite unfair feeling, with 0 continues. Go! So you'll definitely want to stock up on those crusty heads, which are lives. That is, if you can reach or find them.
Just take it!
Now on looks and sounds, well, the stores and the Simpsons locales, they look pretty good. I'd say the sprites look okay too. I mean, it's not a beautiful game, but it's far from ugly. As for the music, well, the themes here, and that sounds pretty good, but the rest, and there's not much, is totally unmemorable.
I think it sucks.
Now I mentioned this in my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Benji Beats video, that every kid I knew back in the early 90s had this game, and none of them could even get past the first level. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I am still that kid. Now as for the story of how I got this one, it's a little bit different for a change. I was searching on Gumtree, which I suppose is like Craigslist for my international viewers, and I saw someone selling the boxed version and RoboCop 2 for a decent price. Now, I drive around for a living, so I told the guy, I'll come pick it up. I arrived at the meet, and he just so happened to have a complete in-box, near mint, Jetsons Cogswell's Caper.
Ay, caramba!
Now for those who don't know, this is one of the rarer NES games out there, especially boxed. So I bundled all 3, and I came home with a very unexpected find. Now on pricing, being based on a beloved franchise, sort of automatically makes it a collector's item. So carts are about 40, and completes around 100 these days.
What the hell was that?
Well, not a bad first outing for our favourite yellow family. Not the best NES game I've ever played, but let's see how Bart vs. the World fares. The Simpsons Bart vs. the World is the sequel to the below average but pretty successful Bart vs. the Space Mutants. It's another side-scrolling platformer, this time set around the world rather than just in Springfield. You can choose to practice here, but it only takes you to the minigame menu. More on that later.
Cowabunga!
Bart Simpson here again. Turns out I'd won the Krusty the Clown art contest. And now, my family and I, we get to go on this really cool worldwide treasure hunt. We go into Egypt, China, the North Pole, and Hollywood. And I need you to help me reach my final destination, a guest appearance on the Itchy and Scratchy show. I have to collect Krusty faces and Krusty products, and if I collect all the products, I get a special reward. Wish me luck, man. I'm out of here. Your friend, Bartholomew J. Simpson. Now, Bart vs. the World is a much bigger game in scope than the previous. The levels are full of verticality now, and a lot less cryptic, but they are still somewhat confusing. There are 4 locations here as mentioned: China, the North Pole, Egypt and Hollywood, and at the end of each stage, you must fight a relative of Mr. Burns.
Excellent.
Now, unfortunately, my favourite, Canary M. Burns, doesn't make an appearance here. Maybe the next Simpsons game. A few big changes here from its predecessor. Firstly, Bart has more health. He can take 5 hits now instead of the brutal 2. Bart can also collect a cape and fly around the levels as Bartman for a brief period. Who remembers Do the Bartman? The side quests of this one are finding various Krusty the Clown merchandise, with one hidden in every level. Actually, if you can manage to find all of them, you will get the best ending and unlock a bonus stage.
Cool.
Something Bart would not find anywhere near as cool is these crappy minigames, like sliders, memory, and there's even a slot machine one. They really don't add anything to the game, except maybe the trivia, which is derived from the first 2 seasons of the show. That is kinda cool, in a time-stamp sort of way. Once again, unfortunately, the controls are awful. Run and jump are mapped to the same button, and Bart just feels very stiff to move. Graphically, it also looks very similar to Bart vs. the Space Mutants, maybe a little bit improved. But the cutscenes with Burns, Smithers and Krusty are pretty good though. Musically, it's the same average repetitive tracks. I don't really think they're trying anymore. In fact, I think these might even be reused.
I think it sucks.
Now, this is not a game I grew up with, although I do remember seeing it advertised on magazines and things like that. So there is actually 4 Simpsons games on the NES. Bart vs. the Space Mutants, this one. There's also Bart Meets Radioactive Man, which actually seems to be fairly rare. And finally, Krusty's Funhouse.
Where's my $400?
Now, Krusty's Funhouse seems to be the only one that differentiates itself from the pack, as it's more of a puzzle platformer than an action one. Now, speaking more modernly, I'd say my favourite Simpsons game would probably have to be Hit and Run or Road Rage. The PS2 is what I played them on. Now, the property would always cash in on the latest craze, video game wise. That is why we have Simpsons Wrestling and Simpsons Skateboarding. Both awful from what I can remember. You know what, actually, I take it back. Now that I really think about it, I think my favourite Simpsons game would be Virtual Springfield, which is what it sounds like. It's more of a tour than Springfield than a real game. I would love to revisit that one day. Now, on pricing, it's basically the same as Space Mutants, with a loose cart going for around 40, and complete, it's about 100. Ay caramba, am I glad that's over. Look, they're pretty cool to own novelty-wise, like for the pop culture.
I don't know.
These just don't hold up these days. At all. Horrible controls, really difficult levels, on both of the games.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to think that Versus the World was actually better than Space Mutants.
I think it sucks.
And I gotta say, after going through this, I don't think I believe that anymore. I mean, at least with Space Mutants, you could call Moe's Tavern. So, having said all that, both of these will be going into the barrel of shame. Yep. Now, in retrospect, there are no bad games, but there are bad gameplay elements. And mapping run to the jump button, that's definitely one of them.
You're ignorant!
See you later.
Buy me a beer, $2 a glass. Come on, help me, I'm freezing my ass.